Apple may be looking to streamline their desktop offering with the eventual removal of the Mac Studio in favor of the Mac Mini. It seems that the tech giant may not have plans to update their Mac Studio with the updated M2 Max and eventual M2 Ultra chips, at least in the near future. I talked about this in another video, but just to bring you up to speed, this comes from Mark Gurman, who said that Apple may be looking to introduce the M2 Ultra chips in the new Mac Pro computers as opposed to bringing them to the Mac Studios. The fate of the Mac Studio is certainly uncertain. There is some fear that Apple may not be refreshing the Mac Studios with these updated M2 Ultra chips or even an M3 Ultra chip anytime soon, and they may be repeating what they did with the 2017 iMac Pros that eventually got left in the dust. But what does this have to do with the Mac Mini? And why am I comparing a product that starts at $599 to a product that starts at $1,999? Well, if the Mac Studio is discontinued and no longer supported, there is a realistic possibility of the Mac Mini adopting some of the Mac Studio's key features. Someone from the Mac Rumors forum recently imagined what a redesigned Mac Mini would look like if it adopted some of the Studio's features, such as significant thermal improvements to the Mac Mini to enable better performance, and even add some simple quote-unquote quality of life enhancements, such as front-facing USB-C ports and that beloved SD card slot right in the front. And this isn't just some wild theory. Apple has a history of introducing cutting-edge features in their high-end products only to eventually roll them out to their more affordable offerings. Just take a look at the iPad Pro's iconic redesign in 2018, which is now the base design for pretty much the entire iPad lineup now that they introduced the iPad 10th generation. And there are rumors that the iPhone 15, all versions of them, will be adopting Dynamic Island, a feature that's only on the iPhone 14 Pro right now. So it wouldn't be a shocker if Apple updated the Mini with some of the features of the Mac Studio. And the Mini is a computer that hasn't been updated in forever as far as aesthetically is concerned. So what a perfect opportunity if you're not going to update the Mac Studio to then bring those features into the Mac Mini desktop line. Because at the moment, the Mini still remains, in my opinion, the best deal that the company offers at $599, especially considering the fact that you can get the M2 chip at that price point. But you can still upgrade even more if you want to and get up to 32 gigabits of unified memory, get the M2 Pro chip, and get up to 8 terabytes of internal solid-state drive. Now, that's not a cheap computer anymore. You're talking about a $4,100 Mac Mini, but you're still talking about a Mac Mini. And truth be told, none of this surprises me. When the iMac Pro was introduced, many of us were blown away by the capabilities of what that computer could do. Remember, it wasn't that long ago that an iMac was just a cute little cube of a computer that, aside from saving you space on your desktop because of the all-in-one form factor, it didn't do a whole lot outside of the normal stuff that you usually do on a desktop computer. By no means were you editing feature films on an iMac. By no means were you recording multi-platinum albums on Logic Pro like Billie Eilish and her brother Phineas on an iMac. But then there comes along the 5K iMac Retina, a machine that I had for many years from 2014 all the way to 2020 that did everything I asked of it and more. And then the company introduced the iMac Pro, a machine that I used for work for a very long time and edited thousands of 4K videos that were shot on Sony FS7s using Final Cut Pro and Adobe Premiere Pro with relative ease. I mean, this is how technology progresses. It evolves at an incredible rate. I mean, just consider the advancements of the iPhone that we've had since when the iPhone was released back in 2007 to where we are today. That phone, when it was first introduced, did 3 things. It was a web browser, it was a phone, and it was a music playing device. That was the sell that Steve Jobs said on stage at that infamous keynote. Today, the iPhone can do pretty much anything we need it to do. And now let's apply that same thinking to the Mac Mini. Now, granted, there are users who aren't interested in a small Mac Mini. They have their sights set out on the Mac Pro, and I totally get it. Super pro users who do content creation and super heavy tasks on the regular basis absolutely would benefit from a Mac Pro. There is absolutely no question about that. And the Pro is going to be mind-blowing when it finally hits the market with the Apple Silicon. But I'd like to make the case for the Mac Mini, which I believe is a total win for the majority of the public. With Apple's continued advancement in silicon technology, the Mini can now do everything that my 5K Retina iMac could do, and the iMac Pro that I used for work, and then some. It's an unbeatable option at that price point, and if Apple is in the market for a middle-tier desktop, then they should consider revamping the Mac Mini and equipping it with the front-facing SD card slots and Thunderbolt ports. The Mac Studio is phenomenal, but if it's truly the end of the line for the computer, as Mark Gurman implies that it may be, then let's at least take some of its most beloved features and incorporate them into a product that's actually stood the test of time and has been around since January of 2005, the Mac Mini. And look, by no means am I implying that the Mac Mini is a replacement for the Mac Studio, can be just as powerful as the Mac Studio, at least not in its current state. But what I am saying is that if the Mac Studio is at the end of its very, very short lifespan, then at least let's take some of the best features that the Mac Studio has and give it to a computer that people are already familiar with. You don't have to introduce a whole new thing. You don't even have to make a whole new iMac Pro or anything like that. You can simply just take the Mac Mini and bring in some of those key features of the Mac Studio. At least those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. And if you want to check out my video about the end of the Mac Studio, you can check that out right here. And if you want to see my video about my M1 Mac Mini desk setup, where I made an entire desk setup around an M1 Mac Mini, you can check that out right here. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button because it'll really help me out, and consider subscribing for more videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.